Polly says she wants a dog. We are coming apart, and a human baby is too much responsibility. Puppies have lower stakes. But I've come up with a solution. Well, not a solution, but a way to stave off solutions. At noon, when Polly heads to her shift, I head to my friend Sebastian's. Sebastian, we're going to the pet store. Do I have to go? Of course, it's a mission. Terrence, your codependency troubles me. When we get to the pet store, the puppies look up at us with starving, pathetic eyes. We ignore them and walk to the aquarium section. Sebastian finds a 10-gallon starter kit for $49.99, an ecosystem in a box. What about decor? He disappears and comes back waving a plastic skeleton sitting on top of a treasure chest. No way. Come on, look at this guy. It's hilarious. It's depressing. In his letter, Draft H, Sigmund Freud became the first to identify psychological projection, a method of attributing one's own thoughts or flaws to those around him. Whether it be a man naming some fish after his best friends, or that weird guy who lives down the hall who you're sure secretly hates you, we all project. This denial, however, bears the question, what happens when reality finally breaks through? The Sunken Mariner, by Graham Mullen. When Polly comes home, I lead her over to the tank, which I've covered with a tablecloth. I whip it off. Cute! Hello, fishies. Do they have names? Of course. That pretty red one, that's a Tetra. She's Polly Jr. And the other Tetra behind the weeds, that's little Sebastian Jr. What about the giant orange one? That's my fish proxy, Terrence Jr. Esquire. He's a platyfish, the noblest of all freshwater species. I fill my days with the tank. There's always something to study up on. There's always something to tinker with. Whenever Polly wants to go to see a band or movie, I make excuses for us to stay home. Eventually, Sebastian calls up and invites us to a party. Polly won't take no for an answer. The lounge is called The Collective. Polly is busy inspecting the wardrobes of the people inside. She mingles with young Ivy Leaguers and laughs on cue at their jokes. She accepts expensive drinks that I would never be able to afford. I lose sight of her. I keep brushing up against impossibly broad shoulders and tripping over impossibly long legs. This isn't my terrain. I wonder when it became hers. The apartment becomes a nucleus designed to keep us in separate orbits. Polly's shifts get later. She spends nights away, ostensibly with friends. When she is home, we hardly speak. One morning, I wake up an hour before the tank's light timer and can't get back to sleep. I check in on the tank. I want to turn on the lights, but Dr. Axelrod's aquarium handbook says it's important to maintain constant daylight cycles for the circadian rhythms. So I wait. Polly is already gone for the day, or maybe she never came home. Tiny white dots snaking up the side of one of the plastic weeds like a tiny string of pearls. I'm thinking... I peered at the white dots. I'm thinking infestation. I'm thinking anchorworms, planaria, saprolenia. I flip through all the pages of fish killers, but I don't find anything. somehow end up in the breeding section. A picture of tetra eggs? We have a match. When I look up from the page, little Terrence Jr. is nosing at a single pearl. The egg slips off and tumbles down to the gravel below. The tetras swoop in on him. They nip at his fins. It's too late. A scrap of torn dorsal fin floats in the water beside little Terrence Jr. With a sad flick of his tail, he swims back down to the safety of his rock cave. Polly hasn't come home in 3 days. I call Sebastian. Sebastian, Polly hasn't come home in 3 days. What do I do? Yeah. About that. About Polly. You and I, we should do this in person. My brain shuts down. I hang up. I rush to the liquor cabinet in the kitchen. A bottle of Bacardi. I sit down at the dining room table staring at the tank. There are 6 shots left. I walk over to the tank, flip open the feeding lid, and pour the rest in. There's no outpacing the diffusion of the rum. Their fins start to slow. They start to twitch. The twitching looks painful. It hurts my heart watching it. What have I done? I rush to the kitchen. I fill 3 glasses from the sink and I rush back. I scoop them out with my bare hands. They don't even try to swim away. They have surrendered. I slide their bodies into the water from the sink, 1 in each glass. The tetras keep nosing at the hard surface where the water ends, trying to push their way through, trying to be together. Meanwhile, the skeleton pirate sits on his chest. His lipless smile seems almost widened by the rum. He's glad to be rid of the fish. No more stray fins to tickle at his ribcage. No more annoying fish to nose at his gold. Sure, it might get lonely, but what does he care? He's rich.